Hi, we're ready to start the broadcast now. Again, I'm Bruce Burke. I'm the CMO of m-ize. I'd like to quickly introduce our panelists for today. I'd like to invite the audience first and foremost to ask, pose any questions via the interface for the Q&A segment following the discussion. We'll focus on as many as we can, time allowing. Joining me for the webinar today is Sumair Dutta. Sumair is the Chief Customer Officer at the Service Council. He's responsible for new member acquisition, member engagement, community expansion, as well as the development and expansion of Service Council's smarter services-oriented research agenda and portfolio. Sumair also plays a key role in building out TSC's community platform focused on becoming the single source of information and networking for service executives globally. Prior to his role at TSC, Sumair led Aberdeen's customer experience and service management research practice and was integral in the development of Aberdeen's Chief Service Officer Summit Series. Sumair holds a BBA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and an MBA from Babson College. Joining Sumair is Brooks Cutter. Brooks is the driver of Smarter Customer Engagement at m-ize. In his role as program manager, he works with clients and potentials to understand their business pain points and current customer experience. Brooks identifies solutions that will best improve the organization's interaction with their customers, defines an implementation plan, and drives the execution across the organization. Prior to joining m-ize, Brooks worked at Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington as a principal program manager architect. Brooks is recognized for the depth of his technical knowledge and is credited as an inventor on 9 different patents approved by the U.S. Patent and Trade Office. Last but not least, join us is our friend and confidant, Dr. Phil Hendrix. Phil specializes in helping organizations identify, verify, and capitalize on opportunities for products that are new to customers and very often new to market. Phil has developed perspectives and research-based tools to uncover customers' unmet needs, reveal hurdles slowing adoption, trigger interest, and accelerate purchase. To determine features and pricing to maximize the market penetration. After receiving his PhD in marketing from the University of Michigan, Dr. Hendrix completed postdoctoral studies in applied statistics and mathematical psychology. So I'd like to welcome everyone. At this point, Phil, I'm going to turn over the reins to you.
Very good. Thank you, Bruce. Delighted to be participating and looking forward to our remarks. We're going to go in the following order. Sumair is going to go first and share some perspectives from research that the Service Council has recently completed. And then I'll hold down the middle part of the discussion today, and then Brooks will come on for the third section. So, Sumair, let me turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Phil. And just as I just look for some of the control of my slides. Here we go. Hopefully this is all. Hopefully everyone can see what I'm seeing. If not, just imagine what I'm talking about. Hopefully I can paint a pretty good picture here. But again, thank you everyone for dialing in. Really excited to be here today, sharing some insights on customer experience management and strategy around customer experience management. It's an area that we've been diving into from a Service Council perspective in terms of research. And one might ask, why is an organization that's focused on service-oriented research talking about customer experience management? Isn't that a bigger picture? Well, it is a natural extension of what we're seeing from a service and support perspective to start thinking about customer experience management in terms of what more can be done. Service is just one touch point or one set of touch points with a customer, even if it's proactive service. There are other things from a sales, from a marketing, from a transactional, from a financial perspective that can impact the experience that's much more than service and support. And we see the broader picture as becoming a lot more important. So I'm very excited to share some research that we've done and talking about the strategic elements. I know both Phil and Brooks are going to be talking about some of the elements of where technology fits in, the different pieces, different channels of interaction, and we think the 3 presentations go well hand in hand. So hopefully I don't ramble on too much and give you some valuable insight. Again, thanks to the folks from m-ize for bringing us together here. I think this is a really interesting topic and we could probably have a series of webinars, but we'll do our best to make everything pretty brief and precise. Just real quick, the Service Council, for those of you who dialed in and perhaps not as familiar with us, we're developed and built as a community and engagement platform. And so our essential goal is to bring in leaders of service, support, and customer management and assist them in sharpening their strategy around service support and customer management. And we do that by our community, we do that by our research, and we do that by our sort of the deeper insights and analyses we produce by combining the community and the research. And all of our research is based on the foundation of smarter services. And what that means is that we believe, and this has been proven in a number of our research projects as well as those done outside, that there is a profitable way to continue to delight and amaze customers. Previously, I think the concept of customer satisfaction and profitability were two concepts that were considered to be adversarial. We believe those are much more complementary right now, and we've done some research on that. You can find plenty of research about how it is extremely valuable to satisfy, retain, and drive loyalty within your customer base, and how that not only impacts, obviously, customer retention, but also impacts profitability. This is just a little bit about the Service Council. I talked about if you're looking to sharpen strategy, you can look into and access our community of service leaders. There's about 3,500 strong in registered members and growing daily. And then if you need deeper insights from the research and the analysis we do, we can obviously get into that. Speaking of the research, we did a project around customer experience, which is one of our bigger projects that we did earlier or late last year. And the focus of that project was really in understanding and kind of stepping away or stripping away the technology aspects, if you will, a little bit, and really focusing on, what it is customer experience management. What does it mean to you as a business? I think there's a lot of definitions out there. There's a lot of thoughts about customer experience management. But really, what does it mean to your business, and how do you then begin to conceptualize your strategy around customer experience management? And so, we had over 200 organizations respond to this survey in different forms. So if you see numbers when I show you charts with less than 200, that question perhaps had less than the 200 respondents. But, so we asked the first question was, how do you define CEM? And you see this is basically a word cloud that came through in terms of, these were the key terms that were used, if you will, in the open definition. And if you take away some of just the pure CEM, the customer experience, you can see there's a couple of words that come out here that I'd want to focus on. One is we see a lot of service. And again, at the introduction, I pointed out that CEM is a lot more than service. I think service is a very important piece of the stool, if you will. It bleeds into some of the marketing, the sales components as well. But service is not the entire customer experience. You can have a very good service experience, but still have a very bad customer experience overall. And so those two are very close together, but not completely overlapping. The ones that I think are really interesting, you mentioned of Net Promoter Score, measurements of loyalty. So you start seeing figures of loyalty. But what I really like seeing here is that right in the middle you see the terms life cycle and interaction. And really that's really what we think about customer experience, is really mapping all of the interactions that a customer has with your organization. And this could be a consumer, this could be an enterprise, and understanding throughout the life cycle of that relationship, what are the interactions that happen? What are the expectations for the interaction? So what were the requirements? Was it a visit to your site for information? Was it a purchase? Was it a phone call? What were the expectations, and then how did you satisfy those expectations, or in some cases maybe over-deliver on those expectations? And that's what I think is really, really important to start thinking about from a customer experience point of view. Here's just a couple of the definitions that we found that I thought were kind of the most appropriate, if you will, to share. Not to go through all of these definitions, but one of the findings that we've had is that a lot of people, when they think about customer experience, beyond just thinking that's a component of service, also say that customer experience management is just about voice of the customer or customer feedback. And I'd argue that that is just one component of a customer experience strategy. If all you're doing when developing a customer experience program is developing a customer feedback mechanism, you're only a portion of the way down, if you will. It's really good to collect feedback from your customers. I'd say it's essential to success to collect feedback from your customers. But if that feedback is not being utilized internally to change customer management processes, to change future experiences, then that feedback, one, becomes useless. Two, you will never get that feedback again because the customers will not trust you. So I think that's where, it's much more than just voice of the customer. The last definition here is one that I really like. I like the first two in terms of the interactions, the things that are repeatable and scalable across the customer journey. I love those two definitions together. When you think about the last one, the processes required to ensure that a client is successful in their use of our products and can articulate the value that our products deliver to them. And then obviously they remain as a client with us in an ongoing business because of that. It becomes a discussion about customer value, and do you know as an organization what is it that your customers value? You can get that. You probably can't get 100% of that. There's a discussion between the enterprise value chain and the personal value chain. But it's really, can you understand when interacting with your company, what is it that your customers value? And then once you deliver that to them, can you make them know that they value it and that you have exceeded those expectations so that they will in turn go and inform and advise others about the value that you deliver to that organization. It really does become a discussion much more so about value as opposed to just the summation of multiple transactions. So just stepping back and saying, okay, let's consider CEM initiatives, and do you as an organization, so this kind of thinking about the history of CEM initiatives. Some people might say, we've had an initiative in place, it's not been formalized, but we've had it in place. We don't call it CEM, we call it customer satisfaction, we call it sales operations, we call it marketing operations. Well, we just went and asked the question, do you have a formalized CEM initiative in place? And if so, how long have you had it in place? And you can see, a good percentage of companies, more than a third of those that we polled, and again, this is a bucket of more than 200 organizations, mentioned that they had one in place for more than 4 years, so a fairly longer period of time. And then you can see, the shorter term, we see a couple of percentages in terms of 14 and 14 at 28 to 30% of companies overall say, it's been less than 4 years, but we have developed an initiative. And then no formalized initiative. 35% of organizations say, you know what, we just don't have an initiative in place. We care about our customers, obviously. We focus on our customers. We look at collecting feedback and improving the interactions, but we don't have a formalized initiative in place. But when you start looking at the future, and you'll see a slide further down, a lot of the companies that don't have initiatives are thinking about formalizing initiatives moving forward. And here's why. So we see in the research we do that when we ask about what are the challenges for your overall business, this is not just a service business or a sales business or marketing business, but what are the things that organizations across industries are facing when they think about the environment? And, a couple of years ago, if we had asked this question, the economic instability element would have been a lot higher. And we've seen some of those fears come down a little bit, depending on the part of the world that you are. Obviously, there are geopolitical issues and challenges in different parts of the world we're facing right now. But we've seen that kind of take a back seat from a global perspective to things like increased competition and reduced customer spending. Now, the workforce element at the bottom, that's a really interesting topic to dive into, but perhaps another day in terms of the workforce shortage, who are going to be delivering the message of service and support moving forward. When you think about competition and customer spending, there are more and more competitors out there, whether they deliver products or they only deliver service and support that can do what you do and perhaps can do so cheaper. And this is becoming a pretty significant phenomenon. Competition isn't new, but when we think about competition in the medium of delivering service and support, we're seeing a lot more companies, especially when you think about industries like manufacturing. You're seeing a lot more of companies coming in, third parties that can come in and deliver the service and support that you need or you provide for a much cheaper price. And given that, and paired with reduced customer spending, there are really, really significant pressures on organizations from a customer retention perspective as well as from a margins perspective, given competition and customer changes, if you will. Customers are just more hanging on to their wallets and their money a lot more selective about the purchases they make, consumers and businesses alike. And that's why, we see more and more of these initiatives in businesses around customer engagement and customer experience. It's about building that deeper relationship with the customer so that at the point of whether it's renewal or upsell or cross-sell, that you have the permission to do that and someone else does it. And that's why we see CEM initiatives become really, really important. And then to drive those further on, customers are much more demanding in what they want, where they want it, how they want to access it. So customers want information and service, in multiple formats, multiple channels. If they're using social, they want it on that. If they're using your website and your portal, they want to have information ready. If they want to use the phone and they want to access information that way and use a more traditional channel, you know what, that's important to them as well. Now, obviously, the phone as a channel is reducing a little bit in importance, but we see, still it presents a very, very important opportunity to drive a customer experience. So in the whole essence, your customers have a lot more choices. They can switch. There's a lot more competition out there, and customers are a lot more demanding in the type of information they need and how they want it. So there's really a bigger drive from organizations to have customer experience management initiatives in place to meet those customer needs.
Sumair, a quick question. This is Phil. When you talk about customers wanting greater access to information and even support, we're obviously aware of that on the consumer side. Does that apply equally well to enterprises?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Good question, Phil. It does apply. I think even on the enterprise customers that we talk to, the demand for information and service information at the fingertips on the channels is very, very pertinent. The only difference that we see sometimes is the type of channels that might come into play. So, a channel like social is a lot more prevalent on the consumer side of the business, so consumers that you work with, direct consumers. On the enterprise, social is still, a little bit behind in terms of enterprise customers using social channels to seek service. But we do see sort of online self-support channels, which have been, present in the consumer space much more so. We do see online self-support being a very, very big component of sort of customer experience and customer service access on the enterprise. And then mobile. Everyone is mobile, whether these are direct consumers and checking the status of their accounts on their cell phones, or these are enterprise customers looking at the status of their service contracts, looking to order new information, new parts, looking for account upgrades, contract information, setting appointments. We're seeing that impacts all customers alike, whether they're the enterprise or the consumer. So it's really, really something where we see this pushes across all customers. Sometimes the channel might differ a little bit depending on the enterprise versus the direct consumer. So hopefully that answered your question there, Phil. And just to kind of add on to that, it's just, I wanted to talk about, I mentioned that quite often we focus solely on voice of the customer as what's the core component, if you will, of CEM initiatives. And this, again, is enterprise and consumers alike. And you can see when we ask organizations, what are the key components of their CEM programs, you can see a large percentage, nearly 80% say it's all about customer feedback management. But there are also other components that are paid very, very high levels of importance. The use of the data that's collected by customer feedback. Now, customer feedback in itself is survey creation, survey management, data management, the use of data analytics, all of that. But really bringing that data into the organization, analyzing that data, delivering insight across the board to different teams, collaborating with that. Collaboration is a undervalued component of CEM programs, wherein if customers provide feedback on the products or services, how can that information be used internally within the enterprise to improve those products and services, and then essentially improve the customer experience? Now, those components of CEM become very, very important. And then we see customer experience design, which is kind of a newer component of a newer field that we're seeing a lot more work being done in, where people and organizations actually go out there and map customer journeys and look at all of the different experiences that they feel and face when interacting with an organization, and trying to design those experiences to a level that would meet and exceed customer expectations. Some of this involves journey mapping. Some of this involves measuring a customer effort score. Some of this involves just learning what a customer has to go through in terms of interacting, seeking information, whether it is with your own business or a competitor's business or a like business that delivers similar services, and understanding, the differences in the amount of time it takes, the ease of access, the additional information that can be provided, the simplicity of information. All of those factors come into play when thinking about the extension of CEM programs beyond just voice of the customer. And then obviously if you're in the position of building a CEM program or working with someone, an organization that's building one, here's how we find that companies measure the success or the value of CEM performance. So if you have a program, the primary measurement is changes in customer satisfaction, but it's really putting all of these together. It's the change in satisfaction, which obviously would focus on the change in retention and things like loyalty, which instead then drives new sales and new customer growth. Now, I think if we start looking at this and we establish a timeline where we start looking at this over the next 12, 24, 36 months, we're going to begin to see that the focus on CSAT, retention, and loyalty will continue to stay very high. But more and more so, organizations are going to be goaled on how do these metrics, how do these performance elements support improvements in revenue, whether that be from an existing customer base, so upsell, cross-sell, renewals, or a new customer base through things like referrals and advocacy as well. That's where we're going to see a lot more measurement come in, if not already, around the value of these CEM programs. And to go back to the discussion we had earlier, satisfied customers, a change in customer satisfaction is the top measure right now. Satisfied customers are good. We all know that. We know that conceptually. But if you wanted to put some numbers at it, where we had 7 different components, and 7 was the highest ranking, the value of satisfied customers is that they continue to spend on products and services, so the retention element. They increase their spend on products and services, so the upsell and cross-sell and revenue component. And then they promote your brand and bring in new customers more and more so than your organization can do so. It's a lot more effective when a customer is an advocate for your organization than in any of the marketing that you can do. And I know we can argue that point, but advocacy is sometimes quite important and the most important form of marketing, if you will. So just as we wrap up, so I kind of walked through a journey about CEM programs and where they stand, and organizations. We found that 35% or so of organizations do not have formalized CEM initiatives. A lot of the others do. Some of them have been in place for more than 4 years. The definition of CEM is more than just voice of the customer. It involves really looking at all of the different pieces that come into play, from analytics, from a collaboration, from a customer experience design perspective. And this is all being done to meet competitive needs as well as increasing needs from a customer's perspective. Customers want better access to information. They want more information, and they want it where and when they can access it. And meeting those needs becomes very, very important, because these customers, in essence, are going to determine your revenue fortunes moving forward. When asked about the success criteria, just kind of a ranking in 1 to 5 scale about what elements are really essential to guaranteeing CEM success, if you will. And these are and I thought it's a good point to kind of leave with these, because these are the elements that we see are most important. Executive support, so having a champion in place. I think if you think about any program, having a champion in place is essential to CEM, not only to drive it within the business function that is supporting CEM, but to ensure that the entire organization supports the CEM initiative and is part of the CEM initiative. A culture of customer centricity. I was just listening to to a session from Paul Greenberg, who was a CRM guru, if you will. You know, engagement and customer excitement and customer experience are all nice intentions, but if your organization and your employees and your culture doesn't support it, you know, these initiatives will go absolutely nowhere. And having a culture in place, having a plan in place for your employees to be bought into that becomes very, very important. You can see that's the next point as well. And then really thinking about it across different perspectives. CEM is not just the focus of the sales group or the marketing group or the service group. It's really the focus of the entire organization. And if you can have focused initiative goals in place for all of those different elements in terms of how they contribute to CEM, those are some of the most important, if you will, success factors when thinking about building a CEM program and getting it off the ground. So I know I'm right up at time. I might actually have rambled a little bit longer than I intended to. But just some final thoughts in terms of a summary. You know, if you don't have a CEM program in place, it's probably a good point to consider why that is and what it is that you need to do to get that off the ground. I mean, the key is to understand the customer needs, the customer journey, the customer gaps, and what is it that you're delivering now that doesn't meet your customer needs. And that's really, really vital. If you are building a program, especially at some of the larger organizations, but even on the smaller businesses, executive ownership is important. Putting goals in place, it's nice to have a CEM program and say, look, I have a CEM program, you know, we are customer-centric. Actually having goals in place for that program will drive buy-in, will drive focus, and will drive results. And so actually having, whether it's a CSAT goal, whether it's a loyalty goal, whether it's improving NPS as your goal, those are important to have in place, so that's something that your organization can gravitate to. It's much more than voice of the customer. I think it involves, obviously, leveraging analytics to understand sort of all of the different elements of customer feedback, as well as then using that feedback across elements of your organization. It is multi-channel, and the term that's used is omni-channel. You know, it's also about engaging customers on the channels that they find most effective. And I know Phil is going to talk about some of the different channels as well from a technology point of view. And then internally, it needs to support and needs to be driven by collaboration. And with internal collaboration across the entire organization, that in turn will support better engagement with your customers, better listening, better enactment, better action, if you will, in terms of what your customers are expecting and need. So that's what I have to present. Hopefully some of the data points I shared, some of the nuggets, some of the information, some of the research we've collected was valuable. Here's my contact information. You can obviously collect these slides after the webinar. This is being recorded. And feel free to shoot over any questions if you have comments or suggestions around the research. But with that said, I'll hand the microphone back to Phil to take us on to the next stage of the webinar. So Phil, over to you.
Very good. Thank you, Sumair. It's a great overview of what companies are doing as well as the opportunity and challenges they face. What I'd like to do is share with you how technology is transforming customer experience management. I'll be covering several topics, including just touching on why customer experience matters, but also how it's related to customer engagement and loyalty. I'll give you a brief overview of key technologies that are enabling customer experience, and then we'll share 6 cases that demonstrate the potential. So I think you'll find those quite interesting. And by the way, as Sumair alluded to, these are really just a small subset of all that's going on, but I think you'll find them interesting. So first of all, just to reiterate why customer experience matters, Watermark did an interesting comparison of the leaders and laggards based on the Forrester Customer Experience Index. And they contrasted the top 10 companies over a 7-year period with the bottom 10 companies and compared their cumulative total return to the S&P 500 index, which on average went up over just 14%. The laggards lost nearly a third of their value, whereas the leaders improved by 3-fold relative to the average, more than 40%. And some of the companies, again, that are perennial leaders are shown here as well. statistics tell, I think, an important part of the story, and that is customer experience matters. We did some interesting work together with m-ize last year on loyalty, and came up with this concept called the House of Loyalty, and it was inspired not by the House of Cards, but the House of Quality, and in fact an interesting article that appeared in the Journal of Marketing on the 7 dimensions of brand love. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to download the white paper from m-ize. But in essence, what it acknowledges is that customer experience really is the foundation, but it's represented in the reputation the brand achieves over time, but more importantly, the attachment that results from that by customers. Not many customers reach that pinnacle of loyalty, much less admiration, love, but it can be enduring, and it offers tremendous insulation, if you will, against some of the experiences that customers have that are sometimes challenging and difficult, but nonetheless allows us to retain customers over time as well. So here's just an example, sort of a generic customer experience map, and showing 4 broad categories, and 2 points to highlight here. One is that the customer experience doesn't start after the sale. Indeed, it starts well before the sale, continues through the sale. An important component, of course, is service after the sale as well. But let's be sure to acknowledge and recognize and understand the importance of customer experience across their entire journey. So one of the questions we'll touch on later is how to prioritize, but let's be broad and holistic in our thinking, because opportunities as well as threats can arise at any point. The other important point on this slide is that technology is really changing and transforming every aspect of customer experience, not just in consumer, but as Sumair indicated, with enterprises as well. So we'll touch on some of those examples. Now I'm going to use the term engagement, and we do have a series of white papers on engagement that I think you'll find useful, but I think this picture actually explains it better than words do, and that is thinking about what we do on behalf of customers as a set of gears in which we're trying to enable what customers are trying to accomplish, but also enhance that process in a variety of ways as well, as we'll see. So again, how can we help the customer accomplish their goals, but also how do we strengthen that relationship over time by adding value? And our point here is that technology is a key enabler. I would have added a third gear, but the arrow depicts that as well. So what are customers trying to accomplish? Well, first of all, they hire you and your product as well as your company for several things. First of all, they're trying to achieve their own goals, whether it's to become informed, learn, decide, resolve problems, achieve things in their business or in their lives. But they also hire you and indeed come to appreciate and admire you over time for helping them manage and even remove some of the frictions that often get in the way of what they're trying to do. So think about these 2 big buckets. Customers value frictionless experiences, but also rewarding experiences. And as a consequence, the old concept of moments of truth still apply, whether it's unboxing, turning on the product for the first time, or contacting your company for support. So just to sum up a brief overview of some of the frameworks that we need to relate back to, loyalty is really a function of both the numerator and denominator that are shown here. And both are important. In fact, reducing customer effort, as Sumair mentioned, can yield big dividends. But don't overlook the importance of innovating, delivering the goods in terms of the customer benefits, what the customer is trying to accomplish. So let's shift gears a bit and turn back to the technologies themselves. And what I'd like to do is give you a brief overview of 4 technologies that are really transforming not only what customers do, but customer experiences as well. Mobile, sensors, the cloud, and social. And mobile, again, is permeating everything. On the left-hand side is a depiction of the remote, and that's fundamental in every living room in the country. But on the right-hand side, what we see are just 2 examples of ways in which mobile are enabling consumers to do things that were unimaginable even a few years ago. Imagine being able to pull up to a $30,000 Mini, in this case, zip car, and drive off without a person ever interacting with the customer. That's quite remarkable. The bottom example addresses one of the frictions that plague all fast food restaurants, but especially McDonald's and others at peak times. So we can order, for example, with our mobile and have the food brought out to us. But even more than that, we can actually query the bag in the case of McDonald's in Australia and actually find out where the ingredients of the products in that bag came from, should we be so inclined. So those are just a couple of examples that show possibilities. But other sensors, both embedded in devices but also in the environment around us, are becoming important as well. These sensors include image recognition, speech recognition, as well as the platforms that enable that, but also beacons that are being deployed not just in Apple stores and other retail stores, but environments. Indeed, projections are that sensor data, feedback that we're capturing not only from products but customers' interaction with products as well as the environment around them are going to engulf and exceed all other sources of data over the next 5 to 7 years. So an enormous amount of data that holds great promise. The next slide just acknowledges that all this data can and should be used not only from transactions but events surrounding customers as well as their history, context, and I'll share with you an important book at the end of the presentation, but these data increasingly reside in the cloud, but it's not just the data, it's the algorithm and analytics that allow us to detect, infer patterns, respond to customers in real time. Google Now and the m-ize platform are great examples of that. So let me conclude this section on frameworks by just chatting briefly about the importance of social. You may or may not think of social as a technology, and by itself it's not. But the platforms and networks, as well as the tools that we use to listen in and better understand what's being shared by customers in these networks, do rely heavily on very, very advanced technologies that are transforming, again, ways in which we interact with and support customers. In essence, what social is doing is amplifying customer feedback, but also customer sharing. And if we're smart, we can use that information, those platforms, in ways to communicate back and detect more promptly and gain better insight and intelligence into what matters to customers. So let's shift to the cases. And again, these are just a handful of cases that illustrate some of the technologies as well as applications that span the customer journey. The first one I'll share with you is one from HP. HP sells obviously consumer as well as enterprise products. This particular case is one from HP trying to tackle a problem that many consumer electronics manufacturers face, especially around the holidays. How do we communicate with consumers while they're in the store, particularly in big box where the salespeople are overwhelmed, and obviously getting a product home with the right accessories, the right supplies is often critical to that first-time user experience. So what HP did, working with Scanlight in this case, they placed QR codes on the boxes that allow the consumer in the retail store to pull up and see and then find the accessories and supplies that were necessary to make sure their experience with the product at home was as expected. The next example here is one that we worked on over the last several months, and we coined the term, I think, the digital shelf, but this just recognizes that retailers increasingly are working with a wide range of third-party mobile apps to expose and make their products much more widely available. So again, this is rethinking ways in which we interact with consumers, not just through our own channels, but independent channels as well. What's interesting here in the fascinating role that technology plays, Retelligence is enabling retailers, in this case, to surface and make visible their inventories to a wide range of third-party apps. And without those platforms, this digital shelf would not exist. So an interesting question for all on the phone today is to think about what information is buried in your systems, not just about inventory, but other elements as well, and how can you make that information available to reps and customers. And that's something that m-ize can help with. This next example I love because it is using a relatively advanced new technology called augmented reality, AR. We all see it on television during football games every Sunday and Monday night, but in essence what AR involves is overlaying digital over the physical. And in this case, what Coca-Cola Enterprises in Europe is doing, and I suspect this will spread to other parts of the world because it's so compelling, is using augmented reality to solve a problem. What is the right cooler based on size, features, configuration, other aspects for establishments? Now, you might imagine in parts of Europe, even getting the cooler through the front door of these older buildings can be a challenge, much less making sure it complements the decor and a variety of other things. So what can go wrong? Well, at the start, just getting the cooler through the front door, but also obviously this is important in terms of merchandising and fitting in and having access to energy and a whole range of things. So what the AR app allows initially Coca-Cola Enterprise sales reps to do is to literally show on the screen the establishment owner or manager how different configurations coolers will work. And again, that process really simulates the actual experience in ways that minimize any unpleasant surprises. This next example is one from Kawasaki, and you and I may know Kawasaki best for their consumer products. But in fact, they're also a leading manufacturer of loaders and other equipment that are used in industries such as mining, construction, and others. And these are high-end, expensive products, $250,000. So you can imagine that while onboarding is important in many categories, with something like a front-end loader, it's absolutely critical. Oil change, maintenance is important to us with our vehicles, but it's even more important to customers of these front-end loaders. If they don't maintain and make sure that everything's working properly, losing a day or more due to a problem with the equipment can be very, very costly. And as a consequence, the dealer walkthrough is critical. So what m-ize did with Kawasaki is help them develop a mobile solution that literally allows the dealer to walk through, check off, and then at the end have the customer sign off that all of the information is covered. Just a couple more cases, and these two are my favorites. Social Disney moms leveraging the community of moms. Who better than a mom, for example, who's been to Disney with a special needs child? Who better to answer the questions of parents in similar circumstances? Disney has orchestrated this channel. They manage it well. They recruit. They monitor. They incent the participants. But again, this is just one indication of some of the things that one of the leading companies is doing. This last example is from the UK, but it's not dissimilar to something that Progressive and other insurers are experimenting with in the US. But what's really interesting about m-ize is the fact they're aimed at a market that's near and dear to my heart with several young adults driving in our household. They're aiming at 17 to 25-year-olds and helping them not only gauge their driving, are they driving well or not so well, but importantly, they're giving them feedback and then tying that feedback to either a discount or, again, penalty based on the base premium. So here's an example of sensors being deployed in ways that are providing information to customers that are at risk, if you will, but also offering them a carrot as well as stick to help them better manage driving behavior that presents not only great risk but great cost as well. So key takeaways, again, technology is advancing. Companies are leveraging these technologies in remarkable ways, transforming customer experiences to remove frictions. The bar is continually being raised, not just across consumer businesses, but B2B and in enterprises as well. And then finally, some of the platforms we've talked about, including m-ize, which Brooks will talk about in just a moment, reduce the cost as well as the complexity. And we're really just on the cusp of understanding and being able to leverage these technologies. What lies ahead is even more remarkable. I won't get into that, but you'll see more of these discussions coming forward. So let me turn it back over to Brooks now for discussion of things that the m-ize team and m-ize platform enables customers to do.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Phil, for going through that. And we're just going to switch the slides real quick. We should see it in a moment. So today Sumair has talked about some of the winning strategies in customer experience management. Dr. Phil's also gone through enabling technologies. For the next few slides, I want to cover how you can implement strategies leveraging these technologies and transform your customer experience and engagement. So to start with, m-ize has a framework of mobilize to monetize that has three key elements. First, mobilize products, services, and all the relevant content and knowledge so you can be wherever the customer needs you. This is critically important today, where people are turning first to their mobile phones in their pocket versus their PC to look up and find information on products. And certainly I saw this myself firsthand when I was at Microsoft for 16 years as we saw the transition to the post-PC world, and people finding that mobile was critically important to connecting with the products and services and the companies that provide them as well. Second, with transforming the customer experience, businesses need to transform it throughout the customer journey to understand and manage all the customer touch points in order to offer a differentiated experience throughout the customer journey. And then third, providing a better customer experience gives you the rights and the venue to engage the customers to realize better value from them. Engaging the customers in smarter ways will increase the lifetime value of these customers, allowing you to better monetize and increase your profits as well. So let's take a few minutes and look at how these customer experiences can impact the value you can realize. First, we'll look at how mobile can enhance the customer experience. I'm showing here a similar model used like a buyer utility map introduced by Blue Ocean Strategy Book. And one of the critical things this tool allows companies to do is ask that most important question of how easy is it for customers to do business with us. Mobilizing means making it easier for customers to do business with you from anywhere they might be at any time. Mobile can make it simpler, more convenient for customers to connect with you and access information and to communicate with each other more efficiently and effectively than ever before. To get the benefits of mobile brands, brands need to drive better user experience, integrate utility, convenience, simplicity, and social as seamlessly as possible. Ultimately, customers are going to remember that, how convenient it was for them to access the information they wanted on the terms they want when they want, and that'll build the trust and the long-term relationship as well. So the next slide really walks through the customer satisfaction and loyalty, comparing the typical experience versus the optimal experience and what you can do when you mobilize. So if you plot the customer satisfaction against the customer journey over time, the typical path may look like the lower line here, sort of the orange line at the bottom. And we'll look at three key aspects of the journey today: onboarding, service problem resolution, and how to upgrade and replace the products. First, if onboarding is not handled well, customers may get a lot less value out of the products and may even lead to returning the product ultimately. Second, when a service issue happens, customer satisfaction may take a hit unless you're able to resolve the problem quickly. And third, if a customer is not fully satisfied with the product or service by the time it reaches the stage of upgrade or replacement, it'll affect the customer loyalty and may result in losing the customer. So, certainly these dips are not necessary, and in fact, you can turn some of these challenges into opportunities as well by improving the overall experience and building that trust and brand relationship long term. So with this, you can improve that experience at all the stages, and you'll be able to lift up the experience as shown by the line above, and keep that level of customer satisfaction and loyalty very high. On the next slide, let's look at how that lift in customer experience can lead to a lot more value to companies. There are three ways you can acquire and profit from loyal customers. First, have customers buy more related products, accessories, and services like protection plans after the purchase. Second, have repeat purchases from the existing customer base. So if a customer is very happy, they're going to want to buy from that same company time and time again. And third is reducing the cost of new customer acquisition through customer advocacy and word-of-mouth marketing. Certainly in today's social world, it's very easy for customers to both share with their friends products and companies they're happy with and ones they're dissatisfied with as well. And so you want to make sure that every customer is happy to both recapture that repeat purchase and encourage your friends as well to make that purchase. Now, the inability to meet customer expectations can lead to increasing customer churn and loss of revenue, and even a small increase in customer experience can lead to a huge jump in customer value to your company. So then next, I want to show three simple examples of how optimizing this experience can be done during onboarding, service, and repurchase of high valuable, durable goods, for example, industries, using the same mobilize, experience, and monetize framework. In onboarding, in this case, we're making it very easy for customers to register products. Typically, this is a relatively low rate where less than about 10% of customers actually register their products because it tends to be rather difficult and they don't see a significant benefit to doing so. And so with this, on onboarding, they can quickly and easily use an application to register their products via the barcode, and then at that point identify related information that encourages them to actually do the registration. And then finally, there is an opportunity, once you've connected with the customer through the registration, you can market to them additional accessories and services as well for an upgrade. Now, mobile can also enhance how customers and channel partners access support and service. They can access self-service or initiate support requests as a single touch from an app. So again, once the customer has made the product registration, they can easily open the app, find the information they want, very often resolve the problem on their own without having to get on the phone and talk through a support agent. But ultimately, if that's required because there may be a repair or replacement, they can do that conveniently as well on their terms through the mobile app to contact support and have a live assist capability as well, where the support can chat with them, have a phone call or a video conference as well. So this not only avoids long waits, but leads to improvements in problem resolution and can help with more efficient dispatch of techs, parts, and other resources as well. And then ultimately, if better service experience is delivered, you again have the opportunity to increase customer value through the sale of service plans, subscription programs, and better consumables and parts. Again, you've made that connection through registration. You have the opportunity to present the customer with upgrade options, and then you can capture that sale as well. So finally, when you get to the end of the customer product life cycle, you want to make sure that you're benefiting from the customer's great experience by capturing ratings and reviews through the voice of the customer capabilities, and also understanding how likely that customer is to continue to purchase and engage with your company as well. This allows you to directly generate net promoter scores as well, which are very valuable for understanding where you have opportunities to improve and where you're outperforming as well. Customers can then also take those ratings and reviews and turn that into social interactions, share it with their friends, and also then discover products that they're similar products their friends also are fans of as well. Ultimately, this can then generate a report, and here's an example of one from the Tinkin group that shows which customers are actively engaged as detractors, passive, and promoters as well over time. So all of this data can be captured, and the analytic reports can help you better understand your business. So ultimately, you can transform your customer experience using the right tools, and m-ize Smart Blocks is one of the fundamental building blocks. Each Smart Blocks can enhance the experience of the important customer touchpoint, and Smart Blocks can be combined to enhance the entire aspect of the customer journey. You can think of each of these Smart Blocks as a pre-built component that you use in manufacturing or in the assembly process. Each one not only provides better mobile and web app capability, but the integration across multiple silos in order to provide unified customer experience. Here in the slide, we actually have a couple different Smart Blocks called out, but ultimately starting with user experience in the bottom left-hand corner, Smart Blocks provide mobile apps that allow your customers to interact, as well as website capability as well. So they're for customers, channel partners, as well as field consumer experience professionals as well. All of that feeds data up into business services, which m-ize manages or works with your systems, to allow you to then orchestrate through Customer Central all of your products and understand the reports and how customers are interacting with your systems. The integration systems services will actually plug into your existing back office systems and enterprise systems of record, so that way there's no rip and replace required to plug this in and basically enhance your business from the first day. And then all this data is collected through analytic systems as well to give you better insights and better feedback on how your business is working. And all this, again, feeds back into engagement engines, so we find new ways to engage existing customers and find new customers as well. So as we looked at designing what are the most impactful Smart Blocks, we identified this customer journey and found all the key integration points along the way. Today we've talked about the onboarding experience and to how customers can go through and register products and find related accessories they want to purchase and perhaps service plans as well. Additionally, there's the service phase as well. When they have problems, they can turn to the customer community, get self-help with knowledge base or training videos, and through the Product 360 find things like manuals that are very often hard to find online. And then if necessary, if a repair or upgrade is required, they can contact field service and schedule a support call, or dropping off the product, shipping it back, or getting an on-site visit as required. And then finally, when we get to the upgrade model, We want to make sure that customers have that opportunity to talk with their friends and talk about the great experience they've had with that product. Not only the product, but the company as well, enabling convenient, fun, social ways to interact with the information that the company provides. And then ultimately the company can engage loyalty programs or marketing offers to identify those repeat customers and encourage the upgrade cycle, and enable other additional product discovery as well. So you may be able to upgrade customers to more products from your company as well. So with m-ize, what we're delivering is a series of smart blocks that actually work well either individually or in concert, where a company can pick and choose which smart blocks are best for their industry, best for the problems that they need to solve. And m-ize can quickly configure and deploy these and integrate these into your existing systems. Some of these smart blocks, certainly work well on their own, such as product registration, but there are other benefits when you actually tie on related smart blocks like accessory sales or additional upsells for warranty programs or protection plans as well. So hopefully today you've seen all the benefits of improving the customer experience that allows you to retain customers, get more value from them, and increase your profitability long term as well. And there's obviously lots of examples of how the industry is changing with mobilization and the importance of being able to provide information to the customers on their terms when they need it, where they need it. So the ways m-ize can help your company with taking the first steps down this path is we can engage with you to first of all map the customer journey. We provide a complimentary assessment that helps you get started understanding your own customer journey, identify the important touch points where you can make the most impact, and then identify what those upgrades can be. Next, we will help you model the customer experience, where we can help you build a working prototype of an application or a website to help you build the business case and gather feedback from various stakeholders. As I manage many of our customer projects, I've seen this firsthand, where the abstract discussion can be very helpful, but ultimately seeing and touching things on a prototype, seeing what that customer experience can be, really helps sell it internally as well. Finally, we can help mobilize products, services, and knowledge. Our smart blocks can be quickly assembled to accelerate the time to market and lower cost of development for the system's engagement. We have lots of capabilities of things out of the box that can be easily configured to add your branding, to add your custom capabilities, and we can connect it to those back-end systems relatively easy, as we have experience doing it with a variety of different systems. And then finally, out of all this, once this is deployed, not only do you have happier customers, but you have better visibility into how the customers are doing and what their pain points are. So with this, we help you measure the customer feedback and engagement through lots of tools like measuring by seeing the voice of the customer and using analytics data as well to gain customer insights and drive up your Net Promoter Score, customer lifetime value, and any other metrics as well that are important to your company. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Bruce, and I think we have some time for questions.
Thank you, Brooks. We're running very low on time, so maybe just one question posed to all of you, and get one last thought on from all of you. And one that seems to come up in my mind and probably everybody else's is we talked about a lot of different things here and a lot of different aspects. Quick wrap up from each one of you. We'll start with Sumair. What else can organizations do to elevate their CEM initiatives?
That's a good question, Bruce. In terms of, I think some of the things we highlighted, the success factors, I don't know if there's much more I can add. Starting off with the focused goals and putting those in place and thinking about what do you want to accomplish with the CEM program. Having executive buy-in and ownership, it can't be a marketing program. It can't be just a support program. It has to be one that's led by the executives. And then obviously the employee buy-in, the culture of customer engagement, you have to have that in place. Whether that's not really a training initiative, it's just one where customers have to be bought in, or your employees need to be bought in what you're delivering to your customers. And then using voice of the feedback across multiple channels, or voice of the customer across multiple channels, and integrating that into everything that you do. Not just collecting feedback for feedback's sake, but actually using that to change customer experiences. I think that can be very important. So I know it's not a one thing, but I think if you can combine those aspects, I think that's a good start when considering CEM programs.
And Phil, from the technology point of view, enabling, what else can an organization do to elevate their CEM initiatives?
Yeah, Bruce, I would just add that it's critical to have employees enabled in much the same way that customers are. It's not unusual to find consumers coming to retail stores and dealing with companies where the consumer has more power, if you will, in the technologies they're using than do the employees. So I would just echo the importance and impact of technology, not just for customers, but for employees as well.
Great. And then I'll jump in as well. Really from the m-ize perspective, we find that it really does vary company by company, industry by industry, as far as understanding how to enhance your customer experience. So it all really starts with mapping that customer journey, understanding what, exactly what the life cycle is for customers as they interact with your products and services, identifying what those touch points are, and then figuring out the best ways to enhance that as well. And as we talked about today, mobilizing, providing that anywhere access is critically important. Consumers are changing from a web-centric type way to interact with their companies, or phone-centric, to doing it through mobile apps and mobile websites as well. And so m-ize has a lot of experience, helping customers understand how to companies how to do this new type of engagement.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for participating today and sharing your insights. We will have an email going out to all the registrants and participants. You'll be able to download the video for